Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into what is literally the silent killer of team performance and company culture: unresolved workplace friction. Look, we've all felt it, right? That lingering awkward tension in a meeting, the sudden spike in passive-aggressive emails, or that heavy silence when a project hits a snag. But what is it actually costing us? And more importantly, how do we fix it before it tears a team apart? Well, we're going to break down exactly how to spot it, treat it, and cure it.
Okay, let's kick things off with a pretty staggering figure. 30 billion pounds, that is the annual financial cost of unresolved workplace conflict in the UK alone. No way around it, that's an absolutely massive number. And to put that into perspective, it translates to an average of 2.8 hours per employee every single week wasted on dealing with disputes instead of, actually working. That's nearly half a workday lost to stress, back-channel complaining, and navigating totally avoidable roadblocks.
And that brings us to a really fascinating insight. Dominic Monkhouse has this provocative quote that completely challenges the whole "a quiet team is a happy team" myth. He says most teams don't have a conflict problem, they have an honesty problem. Polite smiling? Yeah, that often just masks a toxic, fearful erosion of trust. Silence on a team isn't a sign of harmony. Actually, scratch that. It's a sign of fear. It just means the truth has gone underground.
So, I really want you to ask yourself right now, what is the real cost of silence on your team? Think about all those expectations that go unspoken, the frustration that just quietly simmers, the trust that slowly erodes until your absolute best performers just burn out and leave. The stakes here are incredibly high. We've got to stop just treating the aftermath of a massive explosion and learn how to diagnose the subtle signs of this problem way earlier.
Section 1. Spotting the yellow flags. Now, workplace conflict rarely explodes out of nowhere. It builds through subtle, predictable patterns. These triggers generally fall into three main buckets: trust breakdowns, structural issues, and personality clashes. Having this mental map is an absolute game changer because it stops you from making a classic leadership mistake, which is applying a personality solution to a structural problem. Because let's be real, you can't fix an unclear timeline by giving someone a personality assessment.
So what do these yellow flags actually look like in the wild? Well, you might see sudden information hoarding. Or maybe people retreating to email just to be safe, instead of just walking over and having a face-to-face chat. Often, you'll hear a spike in sarcastic comments, visible frustration over competing deadlines, or these sudden, weird bursts of micromanagement. Spotting these subtle shifts, the silence or the sarcasm, weeks before an eruption, that saves your high performers from burnout and saves you a huge headache.
Section 2. The neutral third-party mindset. Once you spot these flags, you need the right mindset to treat them. You can't just go running in making accusations.
You have to step in objectively as a neutral third party. What does that actually mean? It means remaining completely impartial. You separate the person from the problem. And, this is absolutely crucial, you keep the employees responsible for generating the solution. Remember, most conflict doesn't come from evil intent. It usually just stems from mismatched communication styles or unmet needs. Like, one person needs time to think while another needs to talk it out immediately. By staying neutral, you avoid the blame game and keep the focus purely on joint problem solving.
These working relationships can be surprisingly fragile. Dominic Monkhouse uses this brilliant model of the three-legged stool of trust: character, care, and competence. Here's the thing. If you lose trust in just one of those legs, say someone suddenly doubts your competence on a project, or they just don't feel you care about their workload, the relationship doesn't just decline gradually. Nope. The stool goes straight over. It collapses instantly. And that is exactly why early intervention is so vital.
Section 3. Running the private meeting. So, how do we actually resolve this tension safely? You do it with a structured, low-pressure one-on-one meeting.
The whole trick here is having a literal playbook. Take this 30-minute framework from Lattice, for example. You start with a quick 5-minute check-in just to connect on a human level. Then, you dedicate 10 minutes strictly to current work and roadblocks. Follow that up with 10 minutes for reviewing action items. Finally, you leave 5 minutes for open wrap-up questions. Time blocking the meeting like this creates a really safe container for dialogue. It ensures the whole thing doesn't devolve into a toxic venting session, or on the flip side, just a robotic status update. But within that structure, you gotta ask the right questions. We're not looking for yes or no answers here. These are diagnostic tools. Ask things like, what's been on your mind lately? Or how do you think team dynamics are affecting our work right now? By asking these with genuine curiosity, you completely empower the employee to lead the agenda. You're giving them a safe, structured opening to share those hidden frustrations before they blow up into a crisis.
Section 4. From blame to goals. All right, so the tension is out in the open.
Now what? Your job is to pivot the conversation.
When a conversation is stuck in personal blame, it's heavy on the past. It makes everyone defensive and isolated. As that neutral third party, you need to actively shift the dialogue over to shared goals. This side of the framework focuses entirely on the future. It's collaborative, it's outcome-centric. By guiding the conversation this way, you literally watch a confrontation transform into a collaboration. Instead of finger-pointing, you start asking, hey, how can we work together to avoid repeating these roadblocks?
Now here's a question for you. Would your team tell you if you had spinach in your teeth? Kind of a funny question, right? But it actually makes a profound point about your culture. If your team lacks the courage to address minor discomforts, like telling you you've got food in your teeth, there is no way they're going to tell you when a major project strategy is failing. Those micro behaviors totally reveal the macro culture.
Section 5. The cure. Psychological safety. Spotting flags and running good one-on-ones, those are the treatments. But the ultimate cure is building psychological safety. Let's be crystal clear about what this term actually means. Psychological safety is a shared belief that it's okay to take risks, express competing ideas, and talk about mistakes openly without fear of getting punished for it. It is definitely not about endless niceness or just keeping the peace. It's about being real. It's having the absolute courage to challenge directly because you actually care about the work and the people you work with.
When we look at standard frameworks for assessing team dynamics, like the Thomas Kilmann instrument, we see exactly what happens when safety is missing. When psychological safety is low, teams lean heavily into accommodating and avoiding modes, sometimes scoring as high as 57% in these areas. Basically, they hide the truth. They accommodate bad ideas just to avoid an argument. And ultimately, that completely stifles innovation and creates that dangerous silence we talked about at the beginning.
Because here's the reality. High-performing teams argue all the time. Seriously, they do. The absolute best teams don't run from conflict, they use it. They use honest friction and constructive debate to challenge assumptions, make sharper decisions, and drive way better outcomes. They just do it with respect, using the shared language and structure we've been talking about today.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final, slightly provocative thought to take back to your own workplace. Is your team actually avoiding conflict, or are they just avoiding the truth? Take a really hard look at your team dynamics this week. Keep an eye out for those yellow flags, step in as a neutral third party, and start building the kind of psychological safety that turns quiet resentment into loud, collaborative success.